Hello there. Acts. Let me see. Going to be in Acts 22. And she reads, Men, brethren, fathers, hear ye my defense, which I make unto you now. This is Paul, I'm assuming, is standing before these people. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silent. And he said, I am verily a man, which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught accordingly to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, the Old Testament we're talking about here, and was zealous toward God, as yea, all are this day. Let him know he used to be just like them. And I persecuted this way unto death, binding and delivering unto prisons both men and women, as also the high priest doeth bear me witness, and all the estates of the elders, from whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem, for to be punished. And Paul's talking about his old days of kicking the Christians around. He's bearing his soul, so to speak, in front of these people. And it came to pass that as I made my journey, and was come nigh to Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me, and I fell unto the ground, and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecute thou me? And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voices of him that spake to me. And now I will make a note there that somewhere in some other books, it was told to me, and so I'm taking it on the faith of how they said this, that this, how we say in the story, where people heard him, or some of them didn't hear him, or people saw the light. Somewhere it's stated different in another book that he wrote that does not in line with what he's saying is happening here. For what it's worth, I'm not going to go into looking for all the time. I mean, I'll make it later, but right now I'm just reading through this, and but I'm sure you could find it. There's a lot of people that highlight these discrepancies of the teachings of Paul, and it could be a typo, it could be a mistranslation. Who could say what it could be? It doesn't necessarily definitively mean that Paul was lying about it, but for what it is, what it's worth, there it is. And were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake unto me. And I said, What shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, Arise and go unto Damascus, and there it shall be told thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. And when I could not see, for the glory of that light being led by the hand of them that were with me, he's blinded at this point, I came unto Damascus. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there, came unto me, and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight. And the same hour I took up upon him, and he said, The God of our fathers have chosen thee, that thou shouldest know his will, and see that just one, and shouldest hear the voice of his mouth. For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. Now, I find this particularly funny because Christ had came in the flesh, and Christ had picked his witnesses. And what this says here is, for thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. I'm pretty sure the 12 that was walking around with Christ was pretty much better suited to be witness of what Christ said and did. To me, it just makes common sense. Now, common sense may not always be the way to go, and common sense surely can mislead people. But also, putting our faith in somebody like Paul, who after Christ had already handpicked and chose his 12 witnesses to leave record of what Christ said and did, and then to come on board with, Paul saying, hey, I got a ghost talking to me, a Holy Ghost talking to me, whose name is Jesus, and we're going to pretty much cover everything that the 12 witnesses had written down, all but 2 books and a few epistles in the New Testament, which is about the witness of Christ. And we're going to cover everything over with what the Spirit is telling me who Jesus is. To me, I find that suspicious. And, I think most people are scared to see that. I think a lot of people see it in a level that it talks to them, and they know in their heart that this is reason for an alarm. Because Christ did not hide things, people. I mean, Christ had 12 people that he taught, that he showed, that they were witnessing these miracles and these works, and they were charged with writing these things down for us to see. Where are those books? Got a lot of books of Paul, somebody who didn't walk with Christ, but is now claiming Christ is coming to him in a spirit form, giving him precedence over all the other 12. I don't know. Okay. For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. And now, why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord. And it came to pass that when I was come unto Jerusalem, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance. Okay, so here we are with Paul is up in a trance. Now, interesting word about the trance, and I brought that up in a couple of other chapters ago. An odd wording, an odd state of being. Trances are associated with small g gods, not necessarily to do with the one true God exclusively, but trances can be practiced by hypnotists, can put you in a trance. People that don't even believe in God. So, that being said, for what it's worth. And I saw him saying unto me, make haste, and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. And I said, Lord, they know that I am imprisoned and beat in every synagogue them that believe on thee. And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by, and consenting unto his death, and kept the remnant of them that slew him. Paul also, and he just mentioned in the top of this story that he was turning in Christians to be imprisoned and so on and so forth. But earlier in the book, if not this one, another one, he says that they were, sent to their death because he gave witness against them. So Paul had more to do than just holding somebody's coats while they beat poor Stephen to death. That being said, for what it's worth again. And he said unto me, depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. And they gave him audience unto this word, and then lifted up their voices and said, away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. And as they cried out, and cast off their clothes, and threw dust into the air. I guess this is like sport reps of the people when they're freaking out. They're flinging up this dust, kind of like when you rent your clothes. Or I guess this is like kind of like they're mad, they're angry, or outraged, I guess, is what this is pointing to. The chief captain commanded him to be brought unto the castle, and bade that he should be examined by examined by scourging, that he might know wherefore they cried so against him. He wants to figure out what this is all about, this Roman dude. And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto him, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? Now this is kind of a big thing. Just adds to the mystique and questions of Paul. Not only was Paul self-admitted killing Christians, witness against them that they're put to death, and he was charged with doing away with the Christ movement that was growing throughout the land. Now here he's admitting that he's a Roman. For what that's worth, you know, it was Romans that were driving those stakes into the hands of Christ. It was Romans that were sitting in the judgment seat. Pontius Pilate. I've always kind of felt sorry for Pontius Pilate. I always thought that Pontius Pilate wanted Christ to be set free, and it was Christ's own people that wouldn't hear of it. But for that, you know, here he is claiming to be a Roman, and that's interesting to me, because now he's going to use his Roman citizenship, you know, to get him out of this bind he's in. I mean, you would think, now I'm not even going to go there, but, you know, okay, back to the reading. And the centurion heard that he went and told the chief captain, saying, Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. They treat themselves a little bit better than they treat the general class of folks in these countries they've conquered. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, Tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, Yea. And the chief captain answered, With a great sum obtained I this freedom. I guess he's saying, you know, did you pay a great sum of money to get your freedom? And Paul said, But I was freeborn. He was born that way. Didn't buy his freedom. Born free. Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him, and I guess that means beat. I'm really not sure. Examined him, and the chief captain also was afraid, after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. You ain't even supposed to bound a Roman, apparently. On the morrow, because he would have known the certainty wherefore he was accused of the Jews. He loosed him from his bands, and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear, and brought Paul down and set him before them. So I guess this is like he's kind of having a tribunal type of thing in the court. The centurions is raising their questions against Paul. You know, Paul has had questions against him since the dawn he started this walk in the Catholic Church, or would later become the defining building blocks of the Catholic Church. He was always questioned. Number one, because he started out as a murderer and a deceiver of that church. So, you know, I guess it's natural that there should be question of him yet today. You know, I've always kind of felt like, you know, for the most part of my Christian seeking life, that, you know, I've always kind of felt the Paul thing was odd at best, and that there may be a trap in thinking that Paul was somehow an ungodly man. And I guess somewhere in the back of my head, you know, I still think it's possible. But certainly, if you look at yourself as a child of God, and if you're asking questions honestly, and you keep coming back with these proofs and proofs and proofs and proofs of all these things that point toward something not being right with Paul. Sure, there's also things that point toward Paul being a converted man. And a lot of things that Paul says is just and godly. But hey, the devil can do that. That's no trick. I mean, the devil can quote God, and then just and godly things can come out of his mouth. So, I mean, that's not premise to stand on, whether or not Paul is a godly, just man. I think more important than all of these things is the fact that so many things that has divided the body of Christ has in fact come out of the writings and or mouth of Paul. And if it didn't come out of Paul's mouth and somebody who was doctoring up his writings, that canonization process of what we know as today the King James Version Bible, then maybe they did. Either way, I don't think these things can be ignored. I think they have to be looked into. But anyway, I'm going to stop there. This video is getting long. And next time we get back, we're going to be in 23. Okay, guys, peace out.